Ready to rock?
We're live.
We're live?
Nick, I'll let you kick us off, man.
Alrighty, guys. Welcome back to the Iconic Podcast. Tonight we got another slammer for you guys. We got John Rondy joining us, who is the founder and host of the John Rondy Podcast, John Rondy Show, as well as the JohnnyDrinks channel. So, dude, thanks a lot for pulling up, man. We greatly appreciate it. We're very excited to get to know you, man.
You guys are right around the corner. This is easy for me.
Dude, bro, the fact that, like, so that's the funny thing about how, you know, this all kind of plays out, right? Is like, we've been thinking, like, dude, how are we going to land guests? Yeah. And then we start looking into, like, Vincent Gigante. We looked into you, and we looked into, like, the what do you call it? What's the Italian podcast? What's the
Growing Up Italian?
Growing Up Italian.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
they're killing it, by the way.
They've been at it. They've been at it for like 6 years.
Yeah. I was just like, holy crap, these guys are, like, around our block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really, I mean, the world is so small nowadays, especially because of, you know, social media. But like New York City's got a ton of people. It's got to keep reaching out. But I think in the beginning it's hard because you don't know who you want to have on, and you're a newer podcast, so you're like, who am I to even reach out to these people? But like, you might as well try. You never know.
So it's funny you bring that up because like one thing I was telling him is it's kind of like sales. It's like you can't assume like if you reach out you're going to be a bother. You just got to just ask, and if you ask, you will receive, right? Or you know maybe it's good timing as well.
Well said, yeah.
So with you, that's exactly what I told him. I was like, we saw your guest line. We saw like your brand. We saw what you've done. I was like, bro, this guy would be fucking sick. We got to get him on.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And then we just cold DM'd you, man. We're like, dude, I want to get the whole backstory. And I think that's a good way to pivot this because, so how did it all start, man? Let's start there.
Yeah, man. So the story I've told a couple times. My dad and I were just making a drink in the basement, right? So it was like right before quarantine hit, like February 2020. About to go out to eat. He's making what he just saw at the bar a week prior. Somebody like smoked in Manhattan. So he's like, I want to make this. And I had TikTok on my phone for like a week. And I'm like, why not film something, see what happens? Yeah. Film the video, post the video. I'm out to dinner and we're going like viral, or what I thought was viral, like 50,000 views. Yeah. And I was like, that's it. My life's over. I'm going to be famous now. You know what I mean? Like that was, I really was dead set on this being my new thing. Right. And then quarantine hit, we had nothing else to do. So we were like, let's just keep making videos. Like people seem to like it for whatever reason. Until we discovered the reason was more so the father and son dynamic and less about the drinks. We just happened to be JohnnyDrinks because that was the first fucking video we did. Yeah. And then, you know, we went, I would say 6 months without seeing anybody. We were just in our basement, you know. First time out, I remember, it might have been either that year or the year after, we were in Nashville for a wedding. And first, like, things are opening up finally. You're seeing civilization as it once was. And you walk out, we're on Broadway Street. And people are like come up to us asking for pictures, and we're like, "What are you talking about? What do you want a picture of?" But that's when I realized crazy. It was a pretty, it was a pretty special thing we had going on. And so since then, we're at like a little over 5 million followers. We're on all platforms, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, but you start by doing something you don't really know what you're doing, right? And then you realize, okay, people like this. Let's just keep doing that, right? And before you know it, you build up a bit of a brand here. So,
dude, and you guys have absolutely been killing it. And I gotta ask you, man. Like I was watching a bunch of you guys' videos. Tell us about the $10,000 Japanese or Chinese.
Oh man, it's so funny. You guys remember videos that was years ago. My dad I think he got like a gift from somebody for like a birthday or some shit. Right. Yeah. And we were doing a YouTube video and he's like, I have this old bottle. I don't know how much it's worth, but I think it's worth something pretty expensive. He called up the guy again. He's like, yeah, it's called this or whatever. And it could be listed like 10 grand. So now we're going on like this hunt to like find out where, because it's a very, I guess, sought after bottle, but it's not well known in the States. So like it could have been worth this or it could have been worth that. It's more so like a supply and demand thing. A lot of times with liquor bottles, like the Pappy Van Winkle, I don't know if you guys are into bourbon, but like
massive bourbon guy. Yeah.
So the whole Pappy line, right? Depending on the year you get, it could be worth literally double based on the supply or the demand at any given time.
Right. It's like a market. Yeah.
Right. So it's like whatever somebody's willing to pay for it type of thing. Yeah. So that's what we were gathering with this, I guess, Chinese. I don't even know what the fuck it was. It was like it wasn't a soju and it wasn't sake. It was one of those distilled
It's like some, I feel like maybe it might have been like a Japanese whiskey of some sort, which is like.
It wasn't a whiskey. It was a rice. It was like a rice wine. Just distilled. It was a high proof liquor. Tasted good, but yeah, again, at any certain point, it could have been worth it.
I saw so many people were commenting under the video like, oh my God, that's this name.
Yeah.
There was only so many bottles made of that. And like, I was like legit digging. Yeah. I saw someone was even like, only half of the supply ever even made it out on the shelves. The other half was on like the owners and stuff.
Oh, no shit. That's news to me. I mean, we had it and I was trying to find out. I couldn't find anything about this thing. So I was like, let me keep digging. And then you get people like that know way more than you, and then they're in the comment section telling you, what you should have said and all this.
I think that's the
shit,
beautiful thing about social media too, dude. Like, I mean, you obviously are gonna get like haters and people that are gonna write like stupid shit under your videos, but then you also meet a lot of people that can educate you on things, put you on to new things. That's why I love Reddit so much too.
Well,
yeah, Reddit's a rabbit hole.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you guys like heard about the $50 Leonardo da Vinci painting that got sold at like some random flea market, and then found out it was like worth $15 million.
No way.
Like just recently, like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, somebody randomly found like this, and I forgot what the portrait was, so I can't even tell you the exact name. Google this. He sold for $50. Yeah. The guy goes and gets it verified. It was like an original Leonardo da Vinci painting.
Oh, no way. Dude, you never know, man.
Crazy. Dude, so it's like same thing with like like when we were in Tuscany together, we were in this wine cellar. Remember like those like
weird paintings?
like I think it was like no, not the weird paintings. The $80, not the $80, like the 50-year-old aged wine in Argiano.
Oh yeah, you'd be so surprised. They had bottles of wine down there that were going for like
50 grand.
50 grand
bottle
plus,
this big.
Are you guys big wine guys?
No.
I like to drink wine, but I don't know like all the different grapes and stuff. There's like almost, I'm not gonna say an infinite amount, but if you look up like the map of Italy, of course you have like your big grapes, but then like if you look, like each region has like 50 other grapes that you've never heard of, and there's just the wine world is just massive.
It's an old guy thing. We're not old enough for that.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I did want to just say happy belated birthday to John Rodney Sr.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate
we saw that yesterday. I was like, should we get him a gift?
Awesome.
But
no, it's not.
We were sitting here. We were like, dude, the guy drinks all kinds of shit. I was like, I don't even know what to start with.
No. But thank you. I'll let him know.
Yeah. But going to that point though, so what did you do before this whole JohnnyDrinks popped off? Did you have another route you had, or did it just
so I was post college and I had a tech startup out of college. So basically what we came up with, it was like an academic marketplace. So think of like an eBay, but for your assignments. So you'd upload an assignment or a skill set, and then you kind of barter and trade either currency, like a dollar amount, or like your skill in exchange. So the whole impetus behind the idea was that I was always good at math, but I hated writing.
Okay.
I'd always found myself bartering that math skill for like any sort of writing skill. Like, dude, take my fucking paper, write it for me, and I'll do your algebra work.
That's crazy.
And the idea was like what everybody was kind of doing at the time. And I'm like, why not just make or leverage technology to make that process easier? And so it was working out really well. And then the whole app or the whole TikTok thing took off. So it made it a lot easier to promote. We were one of like the top 100 apps in the App Store at the time. Dude, the problem was like we didn't have operations in place. Like it was just me. And things like that, or any sort of marketplace like an Airbnb, even, it can get dangerous, because now you're dealing with people to people.
Right.
So we had like people blackmailing one another and scamming one another, and I'm like, what am I doing? I didn't intend to set up a platform that can now harm or endanger people's livelihoods. People are crying to me that they may get expelled. I'm like, I'm fucking done. So I shut it out. I shut it down. I raised some cash from investors. Had to like tell them, hey, the money's gone and I can't do this anymore. Respectfully, and they all understood. Except one guy like reached out to me recently. He was like, hey, like, where's my money? I'm like, it's fucking gone, dude. It wasn't like that. He was more like, he was more like, I just wanted to keep an update, and I sent an update out. Like when we dissolved the company, I sent out like a nice email to everybody. He just like wanted to know what I was doing and if he can get involved and different shits. That's a really hard conversation, because when you invest in a startup, you're not legally liable to give that person that money back.
No,
like
it's
in
a
any
risk.
way or not.
It's just a risk.
But like, you feel this fiduciary responsibility to be like, okay, if I do have another opportunity in the future, you'd be the first people I reach out to. So anyway, I was doing that, realized that the TikTok was like a really good opportunity. Because you don't get that too often. And with the startup, I was on the other side of things where I was paying these fucking meme pages all this money to post about me. And I'm like, you're making this much money for an Instagram post?
Literally.
So as soon as I started scaling a page, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of money to be made here. I'm not going to stop until we, reach a point where we thought we could be. And you never know until you get there. Like, wait, it could keep going,
Dude, so like, I have so many questions about that, and I'm sure that it's opened up the door for like many sponsorships and collaborations for you. And one of the craziest that I saw that you guys did, and like we really wanted to like tap into your mind with this, is like the collaboration with Dana White. Like first we saw you had him on the podcast, which was a massive W. And then we saw you guys made like the cocktails for him. Dude, so like what was that like? They hit you up and they flew you out to what, Vegas?
So we were doing like celebrity liquor reviews back in the day, and we had a bottle of Howlerhead. We had no clue, like we didn't know him personally. We're like, hey, Dana White's Howlerhead banana bourbon should be pretty good. Tasted it, gave a good review. They must have saw the video and they they repurpose the content onto their page.
Damn.
And like if anybody else did that, I'd be like, yo, you can't just steal my content and post it, you know what
Right.
I mean? But it was them, and I'm like, this is awesome. Reached out and was like, hey, this is a long shot, but we're big fans. We'd love to make Dana a drink. And his right-hand man, 𝐸 reached out to us and was like, hey, he's a big fan as well. All these different ideas. And a lot of the time, these conversations, how they'll go is like everybody's throwing ideas out, and you have all these different ideas on like the whiteboard, and then nothing fucking happens. So I felt it going there, and I'm like, you know what? This is great. Let's start with this. Like, let's start with just us making a drink for Dana. How does that work? And they're like, we'll fly you out. We'll set you up. We went, had a whole tour of his Apex studio. Did a whole tour of his bar. His office was incredible. Did the video with him there. We went to the UFC the night after, which was fucking insane.
What card was that at that point?
Oh man, it was in Vegas. I forget what card. Oh man.
I mean, regardless, I gotta
it was in the
this.
twos though. Like it wasn't even in the 300s yet. It was a while ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we were like on the floor. It was incredible. And then we just stayed in touch with him.
Yeah.
Again, long shot. I was like, hey, you want to get on the podcast? He's like, yeah, for sure. Got on the podcast because we had like exchange numbers at that point. And
Dude, that's
yeah, it was sick.
So you made the drinks first with him, like that segment, and because I remember watching the actual podcast episode. Was that like it's still in Vegas when you guys were like sitting down with you and your father and Dana White?
That was at Prudential Center.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
so
that's right.
So then it was almost like a year later.
Because that was a slapping event, right? Wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So they came to Newark for I forget which UFC, but they had the slap event like the weekend before or whatever. And so I knew they were in town, and I'm like, hey, we want to get him on. We want to do all this with him. Again, same thing. And it was crazy because we had this like makeshift fucking setup in like this random room.
I saw it, yeah.
Lighting sucked. I look at that video and I fucking cringe. I hate it. But we had like an hour with him, and then he's like a little bit late because he has the weigh-ins.
Yep.
And so I'm like, hey, thanks so much. I know we'll be conscious of your time. He's like, dude, it's my fucking show. It's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, that's awesome. So we got like we got a good conversation out of him.
Right.
Again, just such a salt of the earth dude. Like one of the most humble guys I've ever met. It's like if you handed one of us $500 million, like how we'd be.
Oh, yeah.
Just like really chill. He's very gracious, so like when he's talking about these things, he's not bragging.
100%.
But he's also not hiding it from you, which is really cool. So he's one of the coolest dudes I've met.
Dude, that is so
like,
interesting.
We talk about like dream
crazy,
guests and like how you're only a couple handshakes away from, whether it's your idol or just someone you look up to. And when I saw that, I was like, dude, John Ronnie's fucking killing it. Like,
thank you.
I'm not even kidding, because like when we look at your stuff, like you've done some crazy collabs, whether it's with Dylan Danis, whether it's with like Dana White, and you have just a massive roster. And I was telling him, I was like, bro, like we gotta just fucking reach out, because like we know a guy, and you could jump in on this, but he cold DM a guy that is like best friends with like Neymar and like LeBron. And we're like, bro, stay in touch with that dude. Because you never know.
Man. You never know. I mean, listen, you're starting it in your parents' living room. Like, who knows in a year from now where you're gonna be? And this makes the story, And you get one guest that could change the whole trajectory. But it's just like we talked about before. It's just staying consistent. Like post and keep your head down, and never look back, and never over obsess about the views. And like that shit will all come. It's just like I'd rather see you get a consistent amount of views every week versus one blow up video and then tank down every other episode.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And that's why like we also wanted to bring you on more specifically, is like we see how your show is really developing, like how you're kind of veering off different outlets now. It's not just JohnnyDrinks anymore. It's this. I'm sure you're running other business. I'm sure you have other ventures in the back. And like really our goal as us just barely 23 episodes in is like, let's start building our brand, but we're not obsessing over like, dude, we got 100 views. Like, no, we've only been at this for a year, and we're kind of in this for the next 10 to 15, and we're gonna have fun with it. And if it works out, great. But thankfully, none of us are backs against the wall. So
how old are you guys?
I'm 27.
28.
Okay. Yeah. So you're at the age where like you might as well take the risk now, and who knows where the fuck it's gonna go.
It's very, very true.
Yeah.
We have a livelihood, dude, so we have nothing to lose yet. Thankfully, nobody has kids yet. No one's married. No mortgage. So we're just like, all right.
You can go broke and still be all right. You go back to your parents' house. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Yo,
stay here.
So speaking about like ventures, quick backdrop before I get to what I want to tell you. So we were out one night. We were out with Vincent's brother Antonio. This was the night that we dropped their episode. We were watching it in Hoboken at Metropolis with that guy Orlando. And it's funny because afterwards we wound up popping by
Dear Maud. Yeah,
Dear Maud.
Oh, yeah?
And the bartender in there, and we were like, at that time, we were talking with Antonio. We're like, yeah, like, we're going to try to get John Rondy on the podcast. We think that would be like a fucking massive win. And The bartender's like, "Oh, I know him." He's like,
I'm regular.
Yeah, he's
every
like,
fucking weekend.
he's like, he comes here. I'm like, oh, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, by the way, you want to try his whiskey? And we were like, I didn't even know you had a whiskey at the time. I was like, dude, hell yeah, like pour us up. So like,
which bartender was it? What did he look like? Bigger
dude?
Dude,
He
or
was like,
skinny
he was
guy?
like, I know he was
wasn't
bald.
big.
He was short. Just like a white dude.
I
I think his name was
generic-
Josh. No, I don't
guy.
think his name was Josh.
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, it's so hard to remember.
Yeah, but
We weren't even drinking that much. It was just dark in there.
yeah, that place is like,
Dear God's like,
Unfortunately, I'm there a little bit too much.
it's like a house store. You never been in those, like the old ones where it's dimmed out.
Exactly. The lights are all dim. You can't see shit.
I couldn't see his face.
So tell us about that, like the whole whiskey thing. How'd that happen? Like, did you guys reach out to like a distillery to like make a batch for you there, or did you just kind of like? Because from what I understand, some people will also just have a distillery put their sticker on a bottle type thing.
Yeah, so we've actually done it 3 times now. And the first time, you learn a lot.
Of course.
And the liquor space is fucking brutal. Like, you know,
Oh my
I
God.
wouldn't. Basically, what happened was in the very beginning of our whole like content journey.
Yeah.
The engagement was already good, but we had no clue like what our value actually was, and
Right.
we ended up using a bottle of, it was Burning Chair bourbon at the time, which a guy named Dave Finney owns the brand, who sold it to he sold his old wine company to Gallo, $100 million or whatever the fuck.
Damn.
So he reached out to us and was like, hey, the kid reached out to us and was like, my dad used my dad's bourbon. He wanted to thank you. And I was like, oh, some like mom and pop bourbon guy wanted to reach out. And then I researched who it was, and I was like, this is insane. Can we do some sort of collaboration? And in the beginning, I think he didn't realize the reach that we had. He's like, yeah, sure, we'll pay you $5 or whatever it was for a bottle. We'll slap like your little label on a couple barrels that we have laying around and see how much we sell. And we ended up crushing them. We sold like 6 barrels, which was like 1,200 bottles.
What?
Yeah, and it was like quick.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, well, where's our money? And he's not a bad guy. He's an awesome dude. They didn't expect it. And they're like, okay, awesome. Like we'll pay you the money that you're due or you're owed, but like, let's talk about this in the future. And so we flew out to Napa and talked to him, had a great conversation. Yeah. But long story short, even that was like a process where we made them way more money than we made ourselves type of thing. Oh. So we did it again with a different distillery. We did like I think it was like 140 bottles, but like a more expensive bottle. We sold those out. And then we did a third one, which is the one you guys tried, which was like 8 barrels. Did it with a distillery down in Sourland, New Jersey. And yeah, it was a cool process. It was like one of those things where we realized we were a little bit too big for the people we were working with, and not bad guys at all. So it was just like, when it came down to bottles, right? Like they just couldn't source enough bottles for it to make sense financially for us to sell it, and then for us to take our vig and then them to sell it at a price that makes sense. It was a lot, and especially now, like liquor sales at a whole are tanked. Like people don't
drink anymore, man. Like that's like
they just
like the dry January. Are you doing that? Did you do that this month or no?
No, I did not do that. But people do dry years. You know, what I mean, they sit around and smoke weed. And for us, like, or what I've noticed now, even go to Hoboken, you're paying $10 for a beer. Like nobody's drinking as much as they once did. It's the craziest thing in the world. So yeah, it's different. Like if I were to invest in anything in the space, I would invest either like my brand or financially into like the non-alc space. That seems to be kicking off pretty well. Like people do still want to go out and enjoy the experience of drinking a cocktail, but they don't want to drink a fucking Sprite. Like they'd rather drink a mocktail version of whatever they're used to. So that seems to be doing pretty well, and I would keep an eye on that space for sure.
Interesting.
Like boutique mocktails now, like they're just killer. Like because people want especially the girls. I've noticed like they want something sweet, but they also want it to look pretty. I mean, I feel like that's just what's taking over. At least now, because everyone, I feel like we're more than ever health focused. Like we track our sleep, track our steps. There's all these things now.
Which is ironic because like we're not much healthier we're actually probably worse off because now we're just getting lazy, like to track our sleep and like biohack ourselves. It's like go to the gym, work out, and eat well. Like that's all it really is. You have to fucking try all these different ways to hack the system.
Have you seen that one guy that's like investing like $3 million a year who's trying to live forever?
I forget his name.
He's like doing like these. He's like throwing himself in all these like different machines, hyperbolic chambers. And he's paying,
that's
like,
ridiculous.
He's taking like 80 supplements every day, and
he's more so doing like to be the guinea pig of like these different options.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you know he's not telling this is how you should live.
You should
It's more like here are the options that I'm pursuing and trying out, and then you can pick which one.
That's crazy. I haven't even heard heard of this guy, but
I forget his name.
I did just want to.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
I did just want to get a final note on the Johnny Drinks like whiskey. Are you guys still making it, or you guys kind of for now put the kibosh on?
Yeah, we sold out of the bourbon that you guys tried. So like whoever has it now, that's it.
He basically told us, there was like.
Yeah, I mean, but even them, like, so Dear Mod, I'm actually going to Dara open a bar, who's the owner of Dear Mod in the city. I'm going there tonight. It's like a grand opening, yeah. So I'm like, listen, man, I spend so much fucking money here. Like, take a case in. Like, I know it's expensive. I know you wouldn't. I was like, just take a case. Like, yeah, dude, of course. But that's the thing. Like, he'll take a case out of support, but like financially, he's paying $20 extra for our bourbon versus the well that they're already getting. Like, it doesn't make sense for any random bar for them to pick it up.
Would you say that the Johnny Drinks whiskey is like well whiskey, or
no?
Is that what
I mean,
you
listen,
mean by that?
When I say well, I mean like just like a basic whiskey that they're pouring in their everyday cocktails.
Got you.
So like to put it next to like the top shelf bourbon that you guys have, every if you're gonna pay $20 for a bourbon drink, you want to pay for the preferred bourbon. And so like ours stacked up there, but it's not $20 extra worth if you don't know who we are. So you're paying for the novelty of the creator.
Absolutely.
Which is so crazy. And one thing I've noticed about you, just based on your story so far, man, you're extremely business savvy. Have you always been that way, or where did you get it from? You think your father influenced you on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, my dad wasn't entrepreneurial. He was in mortgage finance for 30 fucking years or whatever.
Yeah.
So he always knew like sales and knew and prioritized making money and becoming successful and what it sort of took, I guess. I was always intrigued by it, right? So like whether it was his friends that I was intrigued by or researching, I always knew I wanted to do something, I guess, out of the ordinary and didn't know what it was. I wanted to do anything but work. Like I remember when I was young, I would caddy or I would babysit or I would drive people around. Like I would do whatever I could to make $1 instead of working a job. I just hated the thought process.
Like 9 to 5. Like
just like infuriated me. And maybe it was me being stubborn and thinking that I was better than or whatever. But for me, I liked learning about different and fun ways to make money. And especially nowadays, you can make money doing literally anything. And I think it's the craziest time that we live in that people are still... And I don't discredit and knock anybody that works a 9-to-5 job if that's what you like. People like and desire structure.
They do,
There's like this inverse relationship between freedom and structure. And a lot of people, you either prioritize one or the other. For me, I guess I prioritize freedom versus the structure of security. Security, I guess, would be the better word. But I don't know. I'd rather live a life like that than the security and, I guess, structure of an everyday life, which you never fucking know either. You can get fired tomorrow too.
I mean, dude,
that's true. These days, it's like,
of course.
It's like when you make your whole life just a job, I think that's when you kind of sit there and realize, like, oh, shit. Like, you really got no flexibility on where you want to go. And
it's scary.
And I think that's, like, our goal really is we like doing this now, but I think even our jobs, it's like once we figure out how to monetize our platform or find a different way, start a startup or something like that, I mean, just like when I was talking to Vince and I was like, so what do you guys do all day? He goes, well, we put all this content. We're always working. But it's like...
He doesn't do shit. If he hears this, he doesn't do anything.
And I was like, so, like, for example, like, I was talking to Antonio. He goes, so yeah, man, so like, what are you guys doing tomorrow? I was like, I don't fucking know. I was like, that's awesome. Yeah. Like, I would.
Well, Antonio works at
he works at the spot now. What's it called?
La Boheme. Yeah, pizza spot. No, I'm busting with Vinny. Vinny, because Vinny's one of those guys where he'll do appearances and he'll vlog, and so he's always all over the place. But same with him, like if he wants to keep it up, he has to work, and it's hard sometimes to push yourself when you don't really know what you're supposed to be doing. Like you got to make it up.
Right.
So when he wakes up one day, he's like, "What the fuck am I supposed to be doing?" Nobody's there to answer that question for you. You got to find things that people you think want to watch, and it gets tough, man. It gets very stressful to keep coming up with different ideas. Thankfully for him, he could do pretty much anything, and it's entertaining. Dude, you'd watch him flip pancakes and be like,
energy, bro. His energy,
that's why he has amassed the following he's amassed. He's for whatever reason, it's addicting.
People love the guy. People love the guy. Yeah, you're right.
One thing I like about him a lot is like how unapologetic he is, like just who he is. And I noticed and I'll ask you the same question, but as you saw this growth, as you saw, like, obviously revenue, you're venturing all these different products, you're starting all these platforms. Did you feel more pressure the bigger you got, or do you think it just kind of stayed stable at one point?
If I were to start something new, I guess the only pressure I would have is like my 0 point has to be a little bit above zero, right? Because we have a reputation. Yeah. So like, for example, if I were to launch I don't know, a supplement line, like a creatine or
Right.
whatever. I can't start at zero because then that's a reflection of JohnnyDrinks in some indirect way.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't
That
want to
makes
start
sense.
at zero anyway. But
Right.
I don't have that luxury, I think, of just letting it fly. You do have that little bit of pressure to be like, okay, here's my standard now, which is okay, but there's plenty of people that can fuck up 1,000 times because nobody has
Right.
they got no eyeballs on them. So
Yeah.
it's like the gift and the curse of having a starting point, because then at the other side, I don't have a starting point of zero. So if we did launch something,
Yeah.
we have the following to then promote and say, hey,
Right.
go check out whatever we're doing next. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like even with you now, I'm looking at when I found you, I was like, all right, Johnny Ronnie, like, you know, you have a very great following on your show.
Thank you.
But then you go into like JohnnyDrinks, you're like, oh shit, like there's a lot there now. And I think, like, to your point, your opinion, especially now, man, we live in such a sick world where one wrong sentence with that amount of following, you get canceled instantly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking back at I was just listening to a Joe Rogan podcast with Shane Gillis way back when he got into Saturday Night Live, and he was just saying they found this one episode of his podcast saying, like, and by the way, we might have to bleep this out, but like, he was saying, like,
yeah.
and dude, they shut him down immediately
insane.
once he got big, because like
That's
no one
crazy.
really knows you.
They wait. Yeah. They know the right time to say
They know the
something,
right
yeah.
time. So yeah, we gotta.
That's crazy,
But
dude.
like that, those words right now, like if we were to put this up on YouTube,
Yeah.
we're probably get shadow banned and probably wouldn't really reach anybody.
Yeah, I'd be all right. We're late up into the episode. It'll be okay. But yeah, normally, I mean, I think like in the first 15 seconds of an episode, you don't want to curse or say anything.
Yeah, they have all these different things.
Right, right, yeah. Because I wonder how that works. Right? Are they like somebody there sitting there watching? Or are they using some AI to kind of see what the
that's
transcription
AI,
is?
dude. Yeah, there's so many videos uploaded to
I
YouTube
think
per day.
it's AI at first, and then if
Right.
you were like complain or appeal it, and if you have like a rep, then they'll have somebody go in and like we've had videos on TikTok get taken down. Like we have to reach out to our rep and be like, hey, can you check on this? And sometimes they can't do anything about it,
Right.
But other times they can go in and like a human will
Take a look at it.
yeah.
So what's become more of a priority for you now, the podcast or the JohnnyDrinks channel? Or kind of a blend
Yeah,
of
I mean, the JohnnyDrinks will always be the priority number one. It's the breadwinner. It's like
Yeah.
the main brand.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Podcast takes up way more time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it's the baby and it's a fucking podcast versus a 30-second TikTok. But I'll never sacrifice the JohnnyDrinks brand for like the podcast brand. You know
Oh,
what
of
I mean?
course
So
not,
if it's
no.
like, hey, you got to go do something today for JohnnyDrinks and I have to cancel the podcast. Unfortunately, if I have to do it, I'll have to do it.
do it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I work my schedule around
Yeah.
JohnnyDrinks normally.
Dude, that's so nuts though, man. So what are you planning on doing now? Are you just gonna try to scaling the podcast, or are you still gonna just scale JohnnyDrinks? Like to that point, what's kind of the future for you? What do you see yourself now doing in a couple of years?
Probably both, right?
I mean, yeah, it's funny. Like everybody always asks, like, "Oh, what's next?" And I think everybody's so quick to jump ship and try something new. Where it's
Right.
like, if I was at my ceiling of JohnnyDrinks and the podcast, then I would start thinking of something different. But like, I'm gonna keep scaling this because I know it's infinite. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've 5 million followers across the board with JohnnyDrinks, but why not 10 or 15 or 20? Like, get there first and realize the impact you can have and the amount of money you can make and the things you could do outside of that. I want to reach a point where we have such a big following and can build such a big team that if we do want to launch a product or merchandise, people do it for us, and then we're kind of just slapping our stamp of approval on top.
I like
of
that. I like
you
you
know,
said
like
that,
that's
yeah.
how a lot of these brands or creators, you're like, how are they doing all this? Well, like they're not. You know, they have teams of people that are handling every aspect of their life. And you look like the Pauls of the world. Like Jake Paul has so much going on, but if you watched him, like who he had behind the scenes, he's got so many people doing.
It's a staff.
Yeah, and listen, they're hard workers and they have their hand in things, but they can't do that stuff alone.
No, yeah.
Absolutely not. Especially on the scale that they're operating at.
No, it would be disadvantageous for that.
Look at Mr. Beast, man. Like with the whole Feastables thing, bro. It's like #1 chocolate band right now.
Yeah.
I mean, then again, the guy had hundreds of millions of subscribers now at that point. But dude, to that point, yeah. And I think that's where it all starts. Like, how did you know? For example, you start the JohnnyDrinks thing. Did it ever cross your mind, or did you hit a certain point where you felt like, all right, let's start monetizing this, or did it naturally happen? Did you get reached out by sponsors? Like, where did that kind of crossroad come up to for you?
Well, yeah, like I said, so when I was on the other side of things, like I realized very quickly people pay a lot of money to get a sponsored ad on a page that has a lot of followers. So I knew it immediately. I knew there was a way to make money, but in the beginning, you got to kind of you got to go. You can only charge what you last charged, right? So I started out and you'd post for free product, and then you say, let me see if I can charge a couple $100. And then like, let me see if I can charge 1,000, and then it keeps escalating to the point where I remember I would hear the word yes way too much. And that's when I knew my price was way too low. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody is saying deal, a flag gets raised. And so
Right.
I remember there was a point where like I tripled the rates or whatever it was. And then I got the word no a lot. But for me, it was like I did a quarter of the work and made the same amount of money.
Yeah.
So now I can grow the brand and I can still make that money. And then there's going to be a point in time where the percentage of no's decreases and then you play the same game. And we're at that point now where our Instagram grew a tremendous amount this last year. So we want to double our rates again. And I'd rather get less deals and a higher dollar amount than the opposite. Because the last thing you want to be is this brand whore that just posts fucking ads all day, you know?
Bro,
That's so true.
So it's a hard balance, but it's all you. Like, your rate is your rate. Nobody's there to tell. It's a wild, wild west of the world. Nobody knows.
There's no market. There's no like.
Dude, you got people that have the same amount of followers and engagement as I do that are charging a fraction, or they're charging three times
that, yeah.
And you don't know if they're getting it or not. You have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
And when you're saying these deals, are you referring to just like somebody reached out to you, they're selling a product, and they're like, hey, can you put this on the JohnnyDrinks channel? And just kind of have like a quick promo? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, like in the beginning, it was that. Like it was mom and pop brands that are like, hey, we're trying to start out and shouting us out. Like, yeah. And then once you
what would you say to them? Like, give me like $500 and I'll do it? Or like,
pretty much in the beginning.
That's so badass.
In the beginning, I was like, we didn't know. So like we were like, oh yeah, pay us whatever, and we want to still throw up the video. We're gonna use a brand. The thing about our content is there's so many brand opportunities in each video. You have the liquor, you have the glassware, you have the shirts we're wearing, you have the additional things you're adding into the cocktail. So like you name it, we could probably advertise it. And then you have like the completely off topic or off brand ads that are just like plugins. Like this video is sponsored by
Square.
Square.
Yeah. We've done ads for Honey, and we've done ads for Cash App. So like these are things
awesome,
that,
dude.
yeah, but they want eyeballs. They don't care about who they're getting it from.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a little more legitimate. We got to like follow the rules. We have an agency that like makes sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's type of thing.
You're kind of meeting your end of the bargain.
Right. So either they're bringing us deals or we're bringing deals to them, and then they'll cut the dollar amount. They'll present us the offer, and then we'll say approve or deny, and then keep things moving. So
who's currently your biggest sponsor?
Well, it's funny. Like dollar amount and name are two different things, right? You would think like like we just did an ad for Uber Eats, and you'd probably be like, oh my God, Uber Eats. The reality is Uber Eats, they can leverage their name and not pay as much because they know creators are going to do it.
Yeah.
But the Uber Eats deal that we just did for the Super Bowl was like an intro to them, and we said like, hey, we'll give you, like they needed somebody in like a short notice, so we're like, hey, we'll do it with the expectation that we work with you guys long term in the future. So we just did them, which is a big name, but I have brands that you may not even know about that have paid top dollar because they really, really need the exposure.
Like those boutique brands that like...
It's like the middle ground people. You don't want the small brands because they have no money. You don't want the gigantic brands because sometimes they don't pay, sometimes they do.
They do, right.
It's like the middle of the road brands that are like, we want a year-long contract with JohnnyDrinks. You know, it's like that's the stuff that you're not getting rich off one check.
That's amazing.
And of course not somebody like trying to sell you like shoes. I'm sure it fits like your niche too. It's like promote like, you know, whatever, this ingredient or this cup or something like that. I'm assuming it's somewhere along
man, yeah. And that's where we'll provide a discount for the brands that we really, really like.
Right.
And that give us those 2-year-long contracts. Because like that shit's, we want a base floor of $1 amount coming in every month.
Absolutely.
So I don't have to worry about it. You got plenty of creators that if they're solely relying on endorsement deals, they'll have great months. And they'll have literally months where they're scratching around trying to be like, where the fuck's my next dollar coming from?
Damn, man.
Well, yeah, and I'm noticing like taking that into account too. I'm sure are you operating off any affiliate links too, or is it just put it on my platform and I get paid?
At this point, no. Like we don't do affiliate links. I think it's like you reach a point of not that you're too good, but it'll cheapen both brands. Like if it'll cheapen your brand if I'm shilling out a fucking code, and for you guys, like Uber Eats not saying here's a discount code for Uber Eats.
Yeah.
You know? So
kind of what they do with the DraftKings, like sign up.
Sign up, get it. That like that stuff is different, and I think they more so use that. The betting apps do that a lot because they have so much money in rotation that they really have to make sure that they're spending it with the right people. So it's less of you're getting paid per click. It's more so of a gauge of, okay, this is how many clicks we can expect from this person.
Right? I was going to say, man, I should be like the president of Uber Eats. Like, I have a fucking sick habit. I don't know what it is. Well, it's better now, but their fees, I feel like every year are just getting worse.
And they're so sneaky. You don't even know about it.
No, you don't know about it. It's like, there'll be, my favorite ones are the buy one, get ones.
Mm-hmm.
They have this one, buy one, get one. It's like $15 for a burrito at this one spot called Burrito Joint. And you'll pay for it, and then you realize the buy one, get one still comes at $30.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, like with shipping and
shipping, and then there's like the fees.
Shipping, delivery.
You click on the fees, and it doesn't tell you.
You gotta tip them.
I gotta ask this, man. We're leading up to the Super Bowl. Who's your team?
Man, so I was a huge Colt fan growing up. So I was a Colts
okay.
which is, here's the thing about rooting for a team that is not the area that you live in, right?
Right.
When he was gone, I it was a stab in the heart, and I would root for him on the Broncos because I was just a Peyton Manning fan.
Yeah, of course.
I loved watching him win the Super Bowl. And then Andrew Luck came in, and I was a fan of him.
Dude,
I loved Andrew Luck, loved that whole team. Like the dynasty of when Peyton Manning it was like Dallas Clark and Edwin James, Marvin Harrison, like that. I loved that team, you know what I mean? And then when everybody started to leave, you lose your spark a bit, and then fantasy football ruins it for you, right? Because now I'm not rooting for my team, I'm rooting for my players. And nobody around me is a fucking Colts fan. So I'm like, all right, I got to sit the bar with who? Nobody. So I really lost that spark. I got to be honest. It's sad to say I don't have a team.
You don't have a team right now?
Right now, I root for I got to love to see the Giants win because in the area, it's great to watch them win. Everybody's kind of hyped up about it. I don't mind, weird to say, the Eagles. I went to Rowan down in South Jersey. So when I was there when they won, which was sick. So I like watching them win. I was rooting for the Lions today this year just because of Dan Campbell.
They're sick, man.
How could you not root for DC and that team? I guess for the Super Bowl, I want to watch the Chiefs lose. You know, that's pretty much where I'm at. I think everybody's at.
I was totally convinced you were an Eagles fan because we saw that thing.
I know that's the problem. We did it. We did an ad for Chubby's, and everybody's like, "Go Eagles!
Go
Eagles fans!"
They're like, "Ah, shit."
We're like, we're not Eagles fans. I'm not. Here's the thing, though. We are watching history with the Chiefs right now.
Right.
It's exactly what we used to watch with the Patriots, like the unstoppable force that they are. It is cool to see, and so do I want that run to end? Part of me says no. Like I do like how they're just so dominant right now, and let them go on their run, embrace it for what it is, and let them die out, and then eventually there'll be a no-name team just like the Patriots are. It's like the crazy
cycles.
Remember, like when Tom Brady and Gronkowski and like you were like they cannot be beat. Oh, yeah. And they will never be beat. It'll be forever. And then look at them. It's fucking like that, and they're gone. It's like crazy. Sports are so crazy like that,
dude. And it's getting crazier now because, like, for example, like I'm a massive soccer fan, right? Okay. And I grew up watching like Ronaldo, Messi, all those guys back in like 2006 when they barely debuted. And now looking at them, looking at like guys like LeBron, seeing Brady retire, I'm just like, bro, time's flying, man. And I feel like now, like maybe I'm just biased just because like that was my generation, essentially. Different. Bro, I don't feel like there's anyone next. I don't. If I look at the scope of sports right now, like sure you got Wembanyama for basketball, soccer. I'm gonna be honest, we don't got shit. Like I don't think there's another.
We don't prioritize in the States.
We don't prioritize that. And then like football, like it's getting too political. There's a lot of like these BS calls, like. It's just weird the way the sport is kind of developing now.
Yeah.
No one really excites me like a Brady of the world or like a Peyton. Like so.
Hey, speaking about sports.
Yeah.
And just kind of like tying it together. I know that you had Dylan Dennis on your podcast, right?
I did.
Did you see that he's about to fight KSI?
Dude, that is crazy.
I was with him.
Man.
I was with him on Monday, and he was like, I haven't seen him in a minute, but we were training. I was like, so what's new, man? What's going on? You know, I hear you're fighting and whatever. It was like before he announced it. And he was like, well, I might fight KSI, but I might fight Tony Ferguson. So, like, I don't know who I want. So, if Tony Ferguson would be, like, a legit MMA fight.
Yeah.
Whereas it's, like, a boxing match. And he's like, the money is there. I'm like, listen, man, at this point, I'll take your fucking money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if this is what you're doing. And so he's like, yeah, I probably will. So, he announced it that day. And, I mean, listen, I want what's best for him. Is a boxing match the best for him? Hopefully. You know what I mean? I hope he we were talking about it, and he'll probably end up flying out to like go train in Vegas. I think he needs to get out of this area.
He does, yeah.
He lives right next door to me, and I think there's too many distractions. You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
you gotta go be in a camp and get in a routine. And I think that's he's a natural born athlete. People forget that, like how dominant
championship.
Yeah, he doesn't. He can stop training for a year and hop on a mat and dominate. And I'm not talking about dominating blue belts, like dominating other black belts that are highly competitive. And it's amazing to watch. Now, does jiu-jitsu translate over to boxing? Not necessarily, but he's an athlete and he likes to train. He's a fighter. So I think if you really bear down and train for 8 weeks, he should be able to wipe the floor with KSI. But,
and not for nothing, but he's going to come up on a bag.
I mean, dude.
Oh, regardless of,
James Paul offers me a freaking bag. I'm going in there, and I don't care if I get knocked out first round. And kind of going to that whole Dylan Dennis thing, I think it's just so nuts because the one thing that guy has, and I think that's why he keeps getting these fights, bro, he knows how to fucking sell them. That whole like spiel with the Logan Paul wife thing. Bro, I was on Twitter every day just to see those posts. Yeah,
every single
day. It's funny because like, it's the same shtick this time around with KSI is supposed to be his mom and vice versa.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, here we go again. Like, I'm not watching this shit.
Right.
You look at the views, people are still watching it. Yeah. It may not be as much as, I mean, I think he was like top 3 most popular people on Twitter at the time of Nina.
Like months, yeah.
So he may not be like that big this time around, but it's still way more eyeballs than any other Misfits. I don't know who's. I think it might be Misfits or
it's Misfits. Yeah, usually it's always on the Misfits card.
So he's still pulling way more numbers than anybody else,
dude. And I think one thing about him specifically,
the guy's got eyeballs.
He just knows how to troll, man. He just knows how to freaking troll.
He's a professional at it.
Yeah, he is.
I like the one picture where he's holding the keyboard.
Yeah, they're like he's back at it again. Yeah, so I hope he trains. I mean, I haven't seen him since Monday, but he seems to be in better. He's losing weight, which is good.
That's good. Yeah,
seems to be in better spirits than he was. So
does he just? I guess because he parties up. He's like a local celebrity here. I'm assuming. Is that like?
Yeah, I mean, he when he was training for Logan, he wasn't partying at all. Like he wasn't going. We were like staying in a lot. He wouldn't drink when we went out. But
that's good.
He talks about he runs New York or whatever. But I will say, like when we went out, he did, bro. There was not a spot that he couldn't walk into and walk in. Like,
he's
regardless,
a big
he'd walk. He's for whatever reason, hate him or love him, but like in person, a lot of people love him. And the one thing about him that I always say is he always put on for his boys. Like there wasn't a time that a bar or a club would say like, "Hey, only you and nobody else," and he'd be like, "I'm not leaving. I'm not getting in there with my buddies." And we'd all walk in with him. And I'd be like, I gotta respect that out of a man to be like, I'm with these guys and I'm loyal to them. So that to me always stood out. He was very, very loyal and is still loyal to me. Like anytime I can hop on the podcast, like he didn't have to. I was like one of the first people that he allowed to interview him. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
He promoted the show. Like these are all things that I really appreciate out of a friend.
Dude,
and that episode performed very well for you, if I'm not mistaken.
That's our best. I mean, it's got like
it's number 1. It's the most popular
for sure.
How did you meet him?
I just told the story literally an hour ago, but it's a funny story. I had the page at this point, the JohnnyDrinks brand, and I guess he thought JohnnyDrinks meant like I was an alcoholic and just drank all the time, which is not the case at all. Right. Yeah, I guess like that's what he thought, right?
Yeah.
And so he had reached out and I was talking about the bottles of bourbon that we were selling and they were super expensive and he's like, yo, how can I get a bottle? And I was like, dude, don't worry about it. Because at the beginning I sent him, I remember when he was going to fight Jake Paul, maybe I reached out to him or vice versa. We were like friends on Instagram. And I was like, dude, let me send you a bottle. I sent him a bottle. I sent him a picture of Jake Paul with like a clown nose on him or whatever. And he saw that he drank the bottle. He liked it. When we launched the second edition, he's like, let me buy one. I was like, dude, I'll send you one. He's like, no, I want to buy one. Paid $300 for the bottle. That's what they're going for. And so that meant a lot to me. And I was like, I appreciate that. I ended up moving into the building over from him. And he was like, yo, let's link up one day. And the first time I met him. And we met at a bar in Hoboken at Pig and Parrot.
Pig and Parrot.
So
right
funny,
there. Right across the street from Green Rock.
So Dylan gets he gets like a fucking roped off section at Pig and Parrot. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. But like he's sitting there. He's like, yo, come over. So we're, introducing each other and whatever. He said, we're going to Bounce later, Bounce in the city.
Yep.
And at the time, it was like 2 years ago, Bounce was like really popping off and it was a fun place to be. And it was a Sunday. And I was with my buddies and I'm like, do you guys want to go? And they're like, not really. But you should go. Like, you got nothing else to do tomorrow. I was like, yeah, fuck it. We ended up getting hammered. Like now I see what he's doing. He's like trying to go shot for shot with me and pouring liquor down my throat, like really getting me hammered. And I'm like, all right, I guess like I don't care.
Right.
We end up at Balance. We're going like somewhere nowhere. I'm really, really fucked up at this point. I can't even like stand, which I hate. Like I hate being like that. Anyway, we get back to his apartment and it's like 5 a.m. and I wake up and this pain in my stomach. I thought my appendix bursted. Like that's how bad it was. And I was like, fuck, like, do I wake him up? What do I do? At this point, I met him one day. Like, this was not my, like, best friend. I called the ambulance. I'm like, yo, my appendix burst. I need to get in the hospital. They rushed me to the hospital, or I didn't think they were rushing. They didn't give a fuck. They were just like, here's a drunk idiot. I'm like, I need help. Like, I'm dying. Where? And the lady's like, shut the fuck up. You're a drunk idiot at 5 a.m. Like, nobody cares about it. There's no doctors here right now. And I'm like, this is it. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I wake up. I guess I threw up a bunch. I was in an IV. It's like 9 a.m. I'm asking questions. They're like, yeah, you were just pretty dehydrated. And I felt fine. They're like, we ran your levels. You're fine. They're like, probably take it easy on the drinking. He calls me. He's like, where are you? I was like, I'm in the hospital, bro. He's like, oh. He's like, do you want to grab a bottle of wine or something? I was like, are you crazy? Like,
what?
No, dude. Like, I'm not drinking for a very long time. But it was perfect time because then he announced the fight for Logan. So like I said, he went sober the whole time.
Right.
So we ended up hanging out and just like not drinking for a long time. But that was our introduction to being friends. And yeah, it was like, he was like, yeah, dude, I wanted to see, he's like, I'm a big drinker. So like, I wanted to see if you can hang. I was like, you motherfucker, I didn't see you drinking shit. You were drinking water. I was drinking the tequila. But no, it was a good time.
I got to ask, what is your poison of choice for you? Liquid
Definitely
poison.
tequila. I can appreciate, and anytime I go to like a cocktail bar,
Right.
I'll get a specialty drink. Like I want to see what they got. I feel like you
Yeah.
got to like pay homage to where you're at and
Yeah.
let them do their thing. It's kind of like getting a tattoo. I want to let the artist do what they do best.
Yeah.
So I'll get a specialty cocktail. Always refer back to tequila, or if I'm at like a steakhouse, I'll get a Negroni before dinner, and then a espresso martini after dinner. I actually have an espresso martini tattooed on me.
Dude,
The whole sleeve is like a
That's
Yo,
awesome.
yeah. So it's a whole like
Fits the
cocktail.
brand.
It's
Bro, that is
love it.
badass, man.
listen,
Yeah.
regardless of what I end up doing with my life after this, I'm like, I gotta pay respect to what
What
got
gave
me
you
here.
start? Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's liquor
Yeah,
to an
dude,
extent,
that's awesome.
and so that's I'll always stay away from dark liquor. Which is
Okay.
ironic. Yeah, I just
So no
don't
bourbon.
love. Nah, man.
So your father's more of the bourbon drinker.
He'll drink bourbon like it's crazy, man.
I'm
He's
a
an
big
old
bourbon
guy,
guy,
bro.
so,
He'll drink
yeah.
it like it's water, and he'll wake up the next day feeling fine. It's that generation, man. They're just tough.
They're just,
Yeah,
They
that's
don't
tough.
get hangovers, man. I don't get
the
it.
freaking liver there works double
It's
overtime.
crazy, and he gets his
his.
level checked. He's fine. He's perfect health. It's the nuttiest
Does he
thing.
work out a lot? Like, how does he have like? For
He's in great shape. He used to work out a lot. He hasn't worked. He works out. He stays in shape.
Yeah.
But like by no means is he
Like, he's not
counting his
bodybuilding,
calories.
right.
No, and he looks fucking great, man. His forearms are genetically crazy.
What about you? I see on IG you obviously hit the gym quite a bit,
bro,
right?
405 for reps, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I tend to work out. I mean, now I'm training more jiu-jitsu. It's like
Nice.
you got to pick and choose. You can't lift as much. You're
Right.
stiff on the mat. So I definitely like to stay active. But I'll go through phases. Like sometimes I'll prioritize lifting and I won't train as much. And then other times I won't lift as much. I'll prioritize training. But I love the back and forth because like it's great being on the mat and being good, but like you don't want to walk around 160 pounds soaking wet. Like you want to have a bit of a presence to you on the bars and fill out a shirt nice.
Right.
So people care about that stuff, whether you like it or not. You'll get more attention from other people if you're a little more built up. So it's like the combination of both.
Have you rolled with Dylan yet or no?
Yeah, of course. I just rolled him on Monday. Again, he's like, I mean, we never go like crazy
Of course,
hard.
yeah.
He'll wipe the floor with me. You know what I mean? Like normally what we'll do is like we'll do situational stuff, and he actually is very good at teaching the sport. So like we rolled on Monday. I forget what he tapped me out with, but after the class we ran through like what we were going through, and he kind of taught me what his thought process was behind the move and getting to the situation and position and things like that. So he knows the game inside and out, which is very cool to see.
I mean, yeah,
That's cool.
I mean, getting all those belts and whatnot, bro. That's so nuts, though. Like how you get to roll with Dylan. You're flying out every other year. Like, was this ever a vision for you to get where you're at right now? Like, if we go back and talk to 16-year-old John Rondy, like, was this ever an idea for you? I know you said you wanted to maybe pursue something down the road, but did you ever see it coming this quickly for you?
It's funny because like, it doesn't feel quick to me at all. You know what I mean? Like it feels like it's been a long road, and I think that's why it doesn't really smack you in the face.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I always ask myself like, would my 17-year-old self be proud, or would they look up to me? Like that's a really cool guy. It's hard to speak for that version of myself. I would hope that they would. Did I think I would be doing this? Part of me wants to say yeah. Like part of me wants to say I thought I would be doing something. Did I picture myself doing it with my dad? Definitely not.
Yeah.
Or to this extent, definitely not. But like you build up like this progressive like durability to it.
Yeah,
and it's not like a sensitivity where like it doesn't mean anything. But it is hard to take a step back and be like, wow, I'm living a really cool life that most people don't live.
No.
And I try to do that a lot, to just be so grateful for what I am and give back to other people. Like I try to put on whoever is around me. And I'm not saying like I'm gloating and throwing cash at people. But like if I got my boys with me and I have an opportunity to go to do some cool shit, I want to do it with them. I don't want to do it with some random strangers. I want to put them on with me.
Yeah.
So.
I love that.
I noticed like one big thing, right? As you get to these levels, like managing relationships could be a little bit difficult. Whether it's with, obviously it's great. One of your business partners is your father, so that makes things, I think, easier and bad depending on who you ask.
There's pros and cons for sure.
What is the dating world like at this level?
I keep my dating life pretty, like I'm not on any dating apps, you know what I mean? And I hate to say like I'm married to what I do, but for me right now I'm very happy. I mean, for me, and maybe it's my age, like I'm very happy with where I'm at. I've definitely had women in my life that have been super positive and integral parts of my life.
Of course.
but it's like I know right now my focus and priority has to be on this, and it's very hard for me to let somebody in because I know that like heartbreak sucks. You know what I mean? So like your spouse and your significant other is a very important decision to make. So yeah, they can be distraction, but they can also drag you down and be like, all right, let me take off today and let me focus. Women they weaken your legs, like if that's all you're caring about, you could get very content. If you're with a good-looking girl and she's a happy person, you're like, I'm cool just doing this and doing nothing else all day. So it's a hard balance, man. Like I love the thought of getting married one day, and I think that is in the cards for me. But
it's not a priority right now.
Yeah, right now, like I'm just having a lot of fun, and I'm not. Good, I always say like if I were to give advice to dudes, it'd be like, if you're gonna date around, focus on one at a time. Like if you're like give yourself to it's you owe that to them, that other human being, to not be fucking around and dating multiple girls at once.
No.
Everybody always acts like it's so cool to do. First of all, it's very time consuming. It's a fucking stress. Like it's not cool to do. Nobody thinks you're cool because you're dating 5 girls at once.
No.
So I'm not the type of dude. If you're gonna listen, if you want to be dating women and you want to explore options, go for it. But at least commit to one at a time, and then respect her enough to be like, hey, it's not working out, and go try to find somebody new.
I gotta ask this just because you have such a big following, and it's such a for whatever reason it does attract a lot of females.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're treated differently based off your following once people find out who you are? At least like when you've like first introduced yourself. Because obviously you're not gonna be like, oh, look at my followers, but
yeah, no, definitely. No.
But once like obviously they're gonna look you up and then you click on links. Like,
yeah, I mean most of our followers are men, so like how it'll go would be like I'll walk in a bar and be like, that's JohnnyDrinks, and and the girls will notice and they'll be like, wait, who's that? And they're like, you don't fucking follow. And so I'll get like the ricochet.
Yeah.
But it's more like I guess
funny.
an energy that women can smell. Like they know when you do something a little bit different than other guys.
Yeah.
And so they want to get to know, and they're very curious about that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, like, listen, I live in an area where it's not like, I don't know, the older the women get, the less they care about this shit.
Of course. Yeah.
It's like the weird balance
where established at that point. Yeah.
It's like the younger girls care a lot and the older women care a lot. But the girls my age are like, all right, that's cool. Like, you have a cool following.
Yeah,
but
good for you. Yeah.
They're not going to, like, be drooling over
me,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I don't let that creep in. I'm a very normal guy. Like, I'm not walking around act like my shit doesn't stink and that I'm just, like, some crazy big influencer.
Right.
It's like, who the fuck am I, man?
At the end of the day, right, like, if it all disappears, like, it's your character, I think that really sets you apart from everybody else.
Yeah, I would agree.
What are your values? What's your mindset? What's your vision for yourself? Like, you don't want this to just be your worth. 5 million followers is not your worth. I'm this guy with a great relationship with my father. I have all these great friends. I'm a very loyal person. I care about myself. I have a lot of self-love.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that really makes a difference. Dude, going into that though, I gotta ask because this is always so cool to hear. Any celebrities ever slide in your DMs? Like,
I'm telling you, man, my DMs are filled with a bunch of gay dudes. Like people would think like, man, you must be swimming in it. I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
Yo, yeah. It's like, hey, listen, I don't use the JohnnyDrinks page ever as like,
Of
that's
course.
a business page.
Yeah.
My personal page, I guess, is different. Yeah, my DMs are. I don't know. I don't want a paper trail of anything. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be swiping up on people's stories and DMing girls and having like, oh, look who DM me, and then you're in a group chat. Like, I don't need any of that nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not where my priority is right now.
Yeah.
I don't have any crazy DM stories. Again, mainly it's creepy dudes saying, let me have a threesome with you and your dad. It's like the craziest shit. Oh yeah, man. But the gay dudes shoot their shot. You got to give them respect.
Dude.
But you got a good story if like the gay dudes are liking it and they're replying.
Right.
They must have hit with the girls. They just don't want to say it.
They don't know what to say. They gotta have
That's
a
what I
little
tell
more
myself, I guess.
self-respect, which is fair though, because dude, even I've noticed, even if you're super famous and rich, I mean, I think a lot more girls have a lot more self-respect. I feel like in that regard, where they're not gonna just like be like, don't get me wrong, they're out there, like the ones that aren't, but
the young ones, like again, like the young 21-year-olds,
Yeah.
those are the girls like that fiend over like the influences of their age.
Right.
Like that's a little bit different. But like a 29-year-old girl is not going to be like, oh my God, he has TikTok followers. Some of them were like, I'm not even on fucking TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's kind of cool, I guess.
It's so funny because
I get this.
like for example, my girlfriend, she's like big on she's not big like social media like as much as like I follow it like on TikTok and swipe. So when I told her, I was like, yo, we got JohnnyDrinks. She goes, who? And I was like, it makes sense.
Right.
And like us,
plenty of women don't know who the fuck I am, and I'm like,
we're like, dude, we got fucking John Ronnie, we got Candy Brothers, and she's like, oh, that's nice. I was like, shit, you're right, and we're all the same.
Hope he's a nice guy. Yeah, like sick. That's so mainly again, it's like they know because of their guy friends, or because of their boyfriends. Like it's not like, oh my god, I follow your page, I love you and your dad. I mean, we get that from time to time, but it's less like creepy sliding in, more like just an appreciation for what we do.
Exactly. Cool. Dude, that's so cool though, man. It just comes to show like, and that's one thing I'm slowly starting to realize, like as you start interviewing people with like our buddy, I should say more your really good friend.
Who's that?
He's like JL.
Oh yeah.
Big Netflix actor now, been in a couple things, been in like 13 Reasons Why and whatnot. And the impression I've gotten from all these guys is everyone's normal. They're just normal dudes, but like they have this really cool background. And
Did you ever meet anybody that was kind of like a dick?
And you don't got to name them, but
Yeah, I mean, dudes that you just like didn't expect to be as quiet or shy or weird because like they're so personable on camera, they have these big personalities, and they're funny, and you're like, this is it. Like this is the dude that can't even look you in the eyes. Like this is so weird to me. How they created this persona online is beyond me. But yeah, a couple of those guys. I mean, honestly, it's more rare that I find creators that I actually like. So the only dude, I mean, Vinny now obviously is my buddy.
Yeah, Vinny's great.
He's good people,
Vinny's great. My buddy Chef 𝐾𝐲, you might have seen him. He does like
Oh yeah, you know that dude?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's my boy. And then the kid 𝐷𝐤𝐤 Bar Chemistry. He's the Asian. He does liquor as well. He has like 3.
Sick.
Yeah,
I gotta look him up. Yeah.
He's good. Just a funny dude. Great personality. He's Korean, and the Koreans are very culty, so they all love him. You want to talk about dude, like the Korean girls love him. So he's an awesome guy, like off camera and on camera. We actually do less. We've done like one video together. We do less like collabing and more just like hanging out.
And like
we like forget to. Like every time he's here, I'm like, fuck, we forgot to do a video together. So he's in LA. So I think I'm gonna go out there in a couple weeks and visit him.
I just saw Vinny was just out in LA
You were just out in LA, right?
Nah, Vinny was. I haven't been there in fucking years, man. I gotta go back soon.
Dude, I wonder what it is now though with all the fires and whatnot. Like
it's still recovering. I mean, there's still deserted spots right now.
For sure, for sure.
It unfortunately may not ever recover to where it was. Like that was a devastating.
Shot. I mean, those events like that, man. Like, look, I'm pretty sure even like South Carolina, I'm pretty sure they got hit with the hurricane. Like they're still
it's hard.
Yo, good thing we live in Jersey where we don't have a lot of these crazy. Like we haven't had anything crazy since what?
Yo, don't knock on wood, bro, because we got the earthquake not too long ago.
Yeah.
Did you feel the earthquake by your city?
I was like, what the fuck was that? Yeah, we had Sandy. I mean, look at Sandy took a very long time.
Yeah, that's very true. That's 15 years. Yeah, even now, I think there's still like down the shore now is pretty cleaned up, but for the longest time, it wasn't good.
It took a very long time. Yeah. A lot of the piers.
But I do gotta ask you, man, because like one thing about me is a massive foodie, but I'm also a big cocktail guy. And me and this guy, we indulged. And when you brought up the what do you call it, the Negroni, bro, you gotta try the one at Nobu.
Yeah, it's a thing.
By far the best Negroni I've ever had.
Which Nobu in the city?
The one in downtown. The one in the financial.
Is that the newer one?
I think it is. Yeah, because they got by the way, what's our time? 50. Okay, we're doing great.
Yeah.
They have the one at 57, and then they have the one in downtown.
Yeah. I haven't been to either of those. I went to one in Miami, but listen, Negroni should come down to. It's an equal part drink, so don't fuck it up. Number one.
Yeah.
It comes out of the vermouth you're using. If you're using like a shitty vermouth, you'll notice.
Okay.
So I would assume they're using top of the line.
Yeah, and they're using some Japanese like a Japanese whiskey, right? Something they dabble.
So it's not gin.
No, it's something.
Honestly, I couldn't even tell you the recipe, but they killed it with that. They make great cocktails over there.
Highly recommend it. But I want to get your thoughts, man, because obviously your whole channel is based off it, and I want to go hit those spots. So I have another reason to go out on the weekends. What are some of your go-to cocktail spots?
Well, the coolest spot I've been to was Time Bar in the city. I don't even know if they're around anymore, but it's a speakeasy. So like, looks like a fucking wall, and you bang on the door or whatever. It's really cool. The guy Jeremy that was the head bartender there you ever hear of Blue on the Hudson?
Of course, yeah. I go there all the time.
He's got own stock in that place.
Right. So, I mean, dude, you spend one night there, you own a stock. You spend $1,000.
Fucking yeah, it's expensive, yeah.
It's crazy. So he was the head bartender there. Incredible dude. He opened up a new spot in the city. I haven't been there yet.
Yeah.
But Blue on the Hudson makes phenomenal cocktails. Their they're $20 a pop, but they're great.
They're
Time
awesome.
Bar, I think it was like $30 a cocktail. It was nuts.
Shit.
But really, really good stuff. Yeah, I mean, like I love cocktail bars. I'm trying to think of any like in my area that are really solid. Deer Mod does a great job for like a faster paced bar at night.
Yeah.
Like
It's like a dive bar / like.
But if you go, they're very talented. And the guys at Apulia, which is a pizza spot in Hoboken, They actually have I think they're better. Their cocktail menu is better than their regular menu.
Really?
Yeah, they have passionate bartenders. They're always trying new things, and that's how you create like that experience. Like I want to walk in and then be like, yo, I'm trying something new. Like I want you to taste it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, this is fucking great. So Apulia is a sneaky one in Hoboken.
Nice. Dude, that's perfect.
Nice.
And
I've driven past that place many times.
Yeah.
Do you ever make the cocktails with your father?
Yeah.
You have so much content. So you also have a bit of the craft under your belt.
Yeah, I just made. So it was his birthday yesterday, so I made him one. I made him his favorite cocktail of Vesper. So it's 3 parts gin, 1 part. It's the drink that James
007,
Bond,
right?
So he goes 3 parts gin, 1 part vodka, and then he uses Lillet instead of vermouth. And he likes them shaken, right? Because obviously he likes them shaken. Dilutes the drink when you shake it, so he wants to stay like a little more on edge or less on edge. So I made him that, and then I'll make like not that the content gets stale. You just always want to switch up a bit. So like it'll be angles, or like he says, "Why don't you make me a drink?" And I'll make something fresh for him, or I'll surprise him with something. So at the end of the day, man, cocktails are 3 to 5 ingredients. They're not that hard to make. Learn how to shake, learn how to stir. And you should be okay.
You could end up coming out as good as like maybe one your father. As long as you have good ingredients. You know what your content really does remind me of now that I'm thinking about it? You ever see the father and son? The father's like the what was he? He was like the guy on like Iron Chef.
Yeah, dude.
And he makes like normal like
Jet Bentley, man.
They're
great.
Dude, that guy.
They're in Toronto though.
Dude, literally when I look at your content, I think of those guys too, because it's like here's some ingredients. Make me something.
Yeah, you guys
cool.
pull stuff out of the fridge. I remember you guys did like a flan.
Yeah, that was actually one of our better videos. My dad's convinced that Jet Bentley and his dad stole our "Hey Dad" line. I'm like, dude, maybe, but I was like, I don't fucking know. He's like, I'm telling you, they saw our videos and like that's why they do that. I'm like, okay, sure.
It's like,
but their content's phenomenal.
How often you guys uploading now on that channel?
Dude, if you can upload 5 times a day, you should. Like, you got to upload so much content now. Like, we'll repurpose old content just to, like, stay relevant. It's fucking crazy.
Oh, my God,
Wait, you guys post on JohnnyDrinks 5 times a day?
No, I wish I could. Like, we'll try to post once a day. If I can get 2 out there, I'll get 2 out there.
Yeah.
I got to post again today. But it's like nowadays, more content the better. It's such a crapshoot.
It's so true. You can't be doing it like 2-3 times a week. You gotta be like,
I could post and get 20,000 views right now. Like it's the craziest thing.
Yeah,
so it's like you gotta just keep posting.
That's amazing.
And that's what I learned though is like, especially like, because he's the guy behind the whole social media thing. Also, I'm surprised though, bro. You're also a bartender, bro. You gotta do something there, man.
With the drinks as well.
All right, where'd you bartend?
You know 𝐿 down in Hoboken?
Yeah, of course.
I work over there.
Do you still work there?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
When do you work next?
What's that?
When?
I'm gonna be at tomorrow night.
No shit.
Dude,
you gotta pop by, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, pull up.
All right.
If there's any drink there that he makes the best, bro, you gotta try the Square Mule.
What is it called?
The Square Mule.
Square Mule.
So it's a mule. He says square mule. It's a mile square mule. It's a cocktail that is pretty much like kind of like how you were saying. You got to pay how much to the cocktails of the place. Same thing over there. So it's pretty much a mule, but they use the fig vodka. Have you ever tried
the
that?
फ़igenza?
Exactly.
We work with them. Yeah.
You guys work with them?
We used to work with oh my god, Mike Aarons was the I think one of the owners, but really good guy.
That's a good product too, dude. The fig vodka is nice.
It's great. It's so sweet. It's like low ABV. It's low ABV though, so like you're getting a really sweet drink out of it. You're probably gonna hang over the next day, but I'm sure that's fucking fun.
Oh my god, bro! You drink is like juice, and I'm like, this is gonna be a bad time, but I was like, fuck it.
I gotta try one then. Yeah.
No, dude,
what street is Il Tavolo on?
7th and Clinton.
Yeah, why?
Right by the
on the corner.
Oh no,
yeah. I gotta check it out. Maybe I'll pop in tomorrow.
Pull up, dude. Where do you say you're going tonight? You said in the city.
So again, the guy from Dear Mod, Dara, opened up a spot on Ludwig Street. I think it's down like Soho area.
Okay.
I forget what the name is, but I'm gonna pop over there and check out the cocktail menu. And I think he's doing like a friends and family night or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude. Definitely give me the name like once we get out of here because I'm gonna be in the city on Monday. So
there you go. It should be like officially open up by then.
It should be officially open by then, yeah, because it's my girlfriend's birthday on Monday.
Nice.
So what I plan on doing is we're gonna go eat at Nobu just because we love that spot, and then we'll probably.
That's awesome. Bounce around a little bit. Cool.
That's good. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Though, man. Such a small world.
Yeah, man.
All right, listen, guys. I think that with that, we'll wrap the episode up. I know that John's tired. He did several podcasts today.
7 podcasts today, man.
But yo, dude, thank you very much for pulling up, dude. You brought a ton of value to the pod, and I can't wait to start getting these clips out and sharing them. I'm of course gonna drop all your socials down below, so make sure you guys follow not only John's podcast, the Johnny Drinks channel, follow us as well. And
John, before we wrap up though, real quick, predict the score and the team winning this Sunday for the Super Bowl.
Man, I hope.
I gotta put you in the spot.
I got 5-4, so I don't know how it's gonna fucking happen, but it has to happen.
5-4.
And I need
it's not impossible.
Yeah, it's not impossible. I got 5-4, so we're praying. I'm gonna go for a. like that's how bad these fucking numbers are, bro. It pains me to say. I'm like, what, 35-24? Like, I don't even know what the number's gonna be, but 35-24 the Eagles.
25-24.
Yeah, 35-24.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Dude, brother, thanks again for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys.
Good stuff.